Welsh Rugby Depth Chart for 2025, folks. This one's a bit of a mess. This one took me some time to have a look through because they used a whole heap of players in 2025, partly because they had three different coaches, Warren Gatland, Matt Sherritt, and then Steve Tandy finally took over. So fingers crossed this depth chart come next year is looking a lot more stable because it's a bit of a mess for this year. We'll go through it position by position, which players have been used, which guys seem to be potentially on the way out, who are the first choice players, because there do seem to be a handful of key guys. Jack Morgan, Thomas Williams, the two Lions guys, Dan Edwards has come through. There's a key kind of group of players who are the first choice, and there's a lot that are pretty messy. But we'll go through these. Seems like the squad's shifting, being younger. We'll go through that point as well, and you guys can let us know your thoughts. Props. We start with the props. Loosehead prop, I feel like isn't too shocking because you got Nicky Smith, Gareth Thomas, Reece Carey. These are your first three choices. Good to see Reece Carey back in Welsh Rugby. And then Danny Southworth got a debut right at the end of the campaign. But clear first choice, second choice, and third choice. Maybe Reece Carey gets a few more minutes going forward. It's not a bad mix. Like Nicky Smith's 31, so still in his prime as a prop. Yeah, I don't think you'd be too upset with that. I think loosehead propping stocks are actually looking all right. Not a bad start. Hooker, you got a clear first choice in terms of your, handful of key players. Dewey Lake, absolutely. I think he missed a bit of game time at the Six Nations. He came in at the tail end of the Six Nations, right, because he was injured at the start. He's got 56% of the game time. So if not for his missing out on some Six Nations minutes, those numbers are probably even higher. Elliot D got a bunch of game time at the start of the year, and then you've also had Evan Lloyd, and then Liam Belcher and Brodie Coughlin who made their debuts. But largely, if Dewey Lake is fit, he's probably going to play. It's kind of like the way the Fijians use their hooker, Ikanaveri. He plays the majority of the game time. It's kind of like Montoya for Argentina. You feel like Dewey Lake, he's the guy. He can captain the side when needed. He's going to play the majority of the minutes. If anything, 56 is probably a bit low from what he would have got otherwise. Tighthead prop is a little bit younger with Asarati and Griffin as your two first choice guys. And then a couple of the senior guys who were at the start of the campaign, the likes of Henry Thomas and Wilgriff John, they also had a bit of time, particularly in the Six Nations. And then Chris Coleman got his debut as well. So we'll see what kind of ceiling the likes of Asarati and Griffin can get up to. I know there's a bit of a question mark about Tighthead. It doesn't seem to be solved just yet, but yeah, it's the way they look at the box are giving other teams at scrum time. Yeah, you need a good Tighthead prop for sure. Locks are a bit hard to kind of number, so we're just going to call them Tighthead lock and Loosehead lock because Wales don't seem to have a strict numbering system with who wears 5 and who wears 4, but Tighthead lock more often than not wears 4. Will Rowlands was your first choice Tighthead lock, but he's retired now. Decided to hang up the boots. He had 37% of the game time. So that's kind of experience, I guess you can call it down the drain in terms of a World Cup cycle. But he was probably needed at the time because there's a few young fellas who've played in the second row behind him as well. Duffeth Jenkins is there. He appears on both sides of the second row with about a third of the game time. James Ratty, Teddy Williams, Rhys Davis, Ben Carter, Freddie Thomas, and a lot of these guys appear on the other side of the locks as well. Duffeth Jenkins is number 1. Adam Baird is one of those kind of veterans at the kind of tail end of that last golden generation who's still knocking about. He's there with about a quarter of the game time. Freddie Thomas, Teddy Williams, Ben Carter, James Ratty. So the same kind of names appearing on both sides. It doesn't feel that old in terms of your locks in Wales. Like Jenkins is like 23? That guy's been through some stuff coming into international rugby when he did with Wales. Not at the level they used to be. But we haven't even seen Tunes this year. He's one guy who's missed out for the entire year, unfortunately. Loose forwards. There's so many loose forwards. Blindside flanker. The most minutes in any one position has been Faletau at number 8, but we'll start with blindside. Alex Mann. Gets less than a third of the game time, and he's your first choice at 6. You got Wainwright, you got Plumtree, Jack Morgan's had a bit of game time. You got Reffel, Botham, Freddie Thomas. He's been guys starting at 6, shifting to 6. Who is your first choice 6 at the moment? Like if Wainwright is playing 8, is it Alex Mann? Do you play Plumtree there? If you go the double tackle machines, do you play Jack Morgan and Tommy Reffel together? You've certainly got options, but there's no clear front runner there yet. Open side flanker, 100% is Jack Morgan. 39% is low because he was off with the Lions and he's been injured. Otherwise, 100%, I think he's getting picked every day of the week. Yeah. Where do you play him? I guess 7 preferably, but he can play other positions in the back row as well. He's literally played 6, 7, and 8 at times this year. Alex Mann appears again there on that side. Likewise, Tommy Reffel. You do have 2 of the best kind of tackle machine players in Reffel and Morgan, don't you? You feel like, do you just play them both because they're 2 of your best players? I don't know. Sometimes, like the Aussies used to do that with Hooper and Pocock. Used to play them together because they're both too good to have one sitting on the bench. 2 7s. So they played them in a combination, but I don't know. Josh McLeod's another one. Harry Deeves came through, and then Old Cracknell as well. And then number 8, Falatau, who is 35 now, bringing the average age of the squad a wee bit up. Obviously missed the tail end of the year, but then Aaron Wainwright is 2nd. Cracknell's there. He got his debut. Botham, Plumtree, Morgan Morse came through as well. The 20-year-old, he looks promising. And then a touch of Jack Morgan. Again, some of this is not guys starting in those positions. It's switching throughout the games during yellow card periods and whatnot. But you've used a whole bunch of loose forwards. You've never had lacking for depth in loose forwards. I will admit, like Welsh Rugby just seems to produce really hard tackling, high work rate players. You guys don't lack in that department. You could probably use a few. You could use a world-class tighthead prop. But you don't lack for guys who can tackle the house down and win penalties and whatnot. So, yeah, it's just so many players used. The fact that not one of your loose forwards has even 50% of the game time in any one position is crazy. I mean, I guess Alex Mann, if you put his numbers at 6 and 7 together, he's at like 42%. So he's maybe your top guy. But then also Jack Morgan had 30-odd on one side and, 5% here. 10% there, so you've used a lot of players. Number 9 is, again, a bit more of an easy one. Your first choice guy is Thomas Williams, Lions tour as well, so otherwise his numbers would be higher. Still managed 64% of the minutes. There's at least 1 or 2 games where the replacement did not get on at number 9. Thomas Williams is the first choice. It's a country mile between him and the next guy. In this case, it's Kieran Hardy. Rodri Williams got a bit of game time, and then Ruben Morgan Williams got, I think, a couple of games, although I think it was his debut. He came on the wing because they had 6-2 split, and there were injuries in the back line, so unfortunate for him. But, yeah, Thomas Williams, if he's fit, he's playing, and you got a classy number 9 there. 10, again, you've used some guys. Like the All Blacks, we used 2. The Box used 4. The Aussies used a lot. The Aussies used a lot of 10s. But the good thing is, I suppose, Dan Edwards, who seemed really promising, and he's still a very young man at like 22, seems to have the voter confidence in him that he's the guy. Almost half the game time. And that's under different coaches, I suppose. But he's your first choice. Anscombe is there a second. But you feel like at 34, they'll probably shift away from him. I haven't seen that he's retired, but it can't be far away. Jared Evans, some nice cameos from the bench in particular. Sam Costello, I feel like is probably not the guy going forward. Ben Thomas has had a little bit of game time at 10, and then Callum Sheedy as well. But Dan Edwards has been your clear first choice. He's only 22. He's only going to get better. Obviously, what the pack in front of him can do will dictate how he's able to play, but still promising, and he is a clear first choice. 12 is also a clear first choice with Ben Thomas. I know not everyone likes him. Kind of second playmaking option at 12. Joe Hawkins, Eddie James, and Owen Watkin are your other 3 guys who've had a bit of game time. Some people might prefer a bit more direct, kind of hard ball carrying 12. But Ben Thomas is versatile. He's a bit of that kind of Swiss Army knife. He is he appears in multiple positions too. And then 13, it's not the same percentages as like Ben Thomas, but Max Llewellyn has also had a lot of game time, like close to half of the minutes at centre, followed by Nick Tompkins, who's again not everyone's favourite, but had a few good cameo moments come the end of the year. Johnny Williams, Joe Roberts, Tom Rogers was in a pinch. I think it was the game where they had Ruben Morgan-Williams on the wing because there was injuries at Josh Adams. A little bit of game time there at 13, but Max Llewellyn seems to be certainly your first choice. And Nick Tompkins at 30 can still keep going as you back up for a while if you want to keep him on the bench. Wings, Josh Adams, as I said, he's there as your first choice left wing. He is 30, so will he move into the midfield or will he be surpassed by some of these other guys? Because you picked so many of them on the left wing. Josh Adams, Joe Roberts, Rio Dyer finally got a game after he was one of the big minutes guys last year. He's had a bit of a fall. Alice Mee, Tom Rogers, Max Llewellyn, Keelan Giles, Blair Murray, Josh Hathaway have all had minutes here and there on the left and the right. Tom Rogers has been your first choice at 27. He's kind of, you would think, coming into the peak of his powers as well. Alice Mee, like I mentioned, got his debut. Rhys Zammit came back into the Welsh fold, which has been a bit of a good news story. Josh Adams, Hathaway, and as I said, Ruben bloody Morgan-Williams. Unfortunately for him on his debut, spent some time on the right wing. But like, it's a real, how many guys have you played? You've played lots of guys. And then, I guess it's depth building. I don't know. Fullback is way more stable. Blair Murray, close to 90% of the minutes. Every coach has played him at fullback. He's the one constant, I think. Liam Williams got a game at the start of the campaign, and then Ben Thomas shifted to fullback ever so slightly. So Blair Murray's not the biggest guy at fullback, but he's dangerous. He is dangerous in terms of his like steps and beating tacklers and whatnot. So, boy, have you guys used a lot of players. As I said, this was kind of hard to do. Sometimes they mix things up as well with guys shifting positions in terms of the back row spots. Is it a defensive scrum? Is it offensive scrum? Is it their half of the field, half of the field? Guys were chopping and changing. The locks don't keep the numbers stable. It was kind of a pain in the backside to prepare this one. If you haven't subscribed, I'd love you to do it because I put some work into this one, Wales. But, yeah, she's been messy. Average age of the squad is like 27, 28, but like I said, there's a few guys who are probably on the outer who are bringing up the average, like Liam Williams, Faletau, Anscombe, Henry Thomas, Wilgriff, John. All these guys are bringing the average up. You feel like a lot of the key guys are actually kind of youngish, like Blair Murray's, 24? He was a key guy. Dan Edwards, 22. Tom Rogers, only 27. Thomas Williams is 30, so he's kind of one of the older kind of constant guys, but like Dewey Lake's only in his mid-20s. Jack Morgan's in his mid-20s. Alex Mann still... what's 23? Jenkins, 23. There's a heap of young talent in this Welsh squad who have been getting some game time. But it's a rebuilding effort, isn't it? It's going to take a while. It's going to take a while. They need to win some more games. They did win that game against Japan, which was the clutch one they must win, which they did, just barely. But, yeah. You feel like winning and losing can be a kind of cultural thing. If you keep losing, it's not ideal for the mental skills side of things anyway. But we will see. Fingers crossed this upcoming Welsh generation can, maybe not get them back to where they were in recent years, but at least get them back being a competitive side in the Six Nations to start with. Would be good because the wooden spoon's not been pretty for a couple of years now, but yeah, you guys let us know your thoughts. As I said, it was a messy one, but it's done. I've only got Italy to go now with depth charts. Happy New Year, everybody. Take care of yourselves, and I'll talk to you guys again soon. See you later.